Good morning everyone, welcome back. It's raining quite heavily here today, so I've popped down to the hut in the garden to film rather than chance heading out for a walk. I'd rather be speaking to you from a field somewhere, but I guess I am in a field. It's just a rather domestic one, and good to be with you again. We were thinking yesterday about God's provision in the everyday and Jesus' challenge to not strive for more than we had, to consider the day's gift, the flowers at our feet and the grass of the field, and to discover the satisfaction of sufficiency. That is a theme, strong theme in Thomas Traherne's writing, and I read to you from his writing about love and his sense. Do you remember he was thinking about how heavy and useless his body was in comparison to this eternal, free flowing love that reached out to all created things and was limitless. Parsley, whose tale you might just have seen in the background, has joined me, so it's good to see you, Parsley. He's in quite a lively mood. He likes water, curiously, for a cat, and will seek it out wherever possible, so he's just coming from the rain. So Traherne, interestingly, a bridge, I feel, between the mystic contemplative writers of the later Middle Ages, people like Julian of Norwich, Thomas à Kempis and so on, and the romantic poets who came a century or two after him. So he lived in the 1600s. His poems were only discovered in the 19th century on a bookstall, apparently, and were thought to have been written by Henry Vaughan, but turned out to have been at his hand. And he has the romantic sensibility of dwelling in the landscape and feeling close to God in nature, but he's also got the mystic's powerful sense of being called out to a life of deep enjoyment of God in creation, and to reflect upon the life of God and wanting nothing more than that. So he's got both of those. Fascinating writer. And I want to read a little bit more from him for you today. He describes as a child having not wanted any tinsel on his rocking horse, because he just wanted the ordinary thing was enough. And he returns to that later in life. He doesn't want all of the ornament, the extra. He sees the beauty of the common things and the value in the mundane. Now that's a path to contentment, isn't it? If we can see that what is common is most beautiful of all, and the root of this he finds is his reflection upon the goodness of God. And he says that if God is good, he'll want us to have, as Jesus says, good things, and lots of them. And the trouble is that because the good things are so common and are right in front of our nose, we don't want them. And we long for the things that are rarer, but they're not as good, he says. Now that's fascinating to me. I'm interested in all sorts of things, and among them old cars, as some of you may know. And I've always become interested in cars when they've got rarer. I'm particularly interested in the cars that were everyday. The Morris Marina, the Cortina, the Allegro, the cars that you just saw and wouldn't give a second glance, but now if you saw one would be really strange, and you think, oh, look at that, but you'd never say that when they were everywhere. And that's fascinating to me, that they become interesting when they become rarer. Now Traherne says, look at what you've got already, don't wait for it to become rare. It's fascinating now. So let me read to you again from his prose writings, where he writes how natural things are glorious, and then goes on to recall how that has felt for him over the years. And what rule do you think I walked by? Truly a strange one, but the best in the whole world. I was guided by an implicit faith in God's goodness, and therefore led to the study of the most obvious and common things. For thus I thought within myself, God being, as we generally believe, infinite in goodness, it is most consonant and agreeable with his nature that the best things should be most common. For nothing is more natural to infinite goodness than to make the best things most frequent, and only things worthless scarce. Then I began to inquire what things were most common: air, light, heaven and earth, water, the sun, trees, men and women, cities, temples, etc. These I found common and obvious to all. Rubies, pearls, diamonds, gold and silver, these I found scarce, and to the most denied. Then began I to consider and compare the value of them, which I measured by their serviceableness, and by the excellencies with which would be found in them should they be taken away. And in conclusion, I saw clearly that there was real valuableness in all the common things, in the scarce a feigned. In the scarce things a feigned value, in the common things a real valuableness. Golly, that's a real boost to me at the start of the day, because there are so many ordinary things that we're going to encounter in the next few hours, and all of them in God's gift. May we see them afresh, and may God bless you as you go to ground.